Umachnes, then they would enter in. Bekarka Mishkan, remember that for the pasuk that says in the entrance, in the grounds of the Mishkan, Isi ben Yehuda Imer Lahavi Karka. This comes to include that not only the earth of the actual Mishkan, but rather as we turn over to Tezayin Amid Aleph, today's Daf, but rather it says Isi ben Yehuda, the pasuk of Bekarka Misha teaches us, but as well, Shiloi Noiv V'Givoi Nubeisei Lamim, the four areas in which the Mishkan settled, in these four areas as well, you could take the dirt from there while the Mishkan was there. That is Isi ben Yehuda learning up a Karka Mishkan. Isi ben Menachem oimer einai tzarich. You don't need a pasuk. Why not? When it comes to a light form of Toma, loy cholaka kasaf. What does it mean, a light form of Toma? So Rashi keys us in as well. Likanes bim Tomas Hagof leMikdash. Sheinai b'misas bezdin. If someone enters into the Beis Hamikdash with Toma on his body, he does not get misas bezdin, rather elakares. And Rashi continues and explains, Loi chalaka kasa be Mishkan leMikdash leMishkan. There's no differentiation in the pasuk between the Beis Hamikdash and between the Mishkan. So if that is true, again back into the Gemara, Umat Tomakala, when it comes to life form of Toma, Lo Chalaka Kosav Tomas Betoma Lo Chalaka Kosav, excuse me. Betomas Isha Ish Chamura. When we have a more stringent type of Toma, which is the case of Sotah, Lo Kol Shekein, that there's going to be no difference. Says Isi ben Menachem, so you don't need the pasuk, a special pasuk to teach us that even in the Mishkan, no, the same din is going to apply. You take the dirt from the floor of the Beis Hamikdash, Mishkan Shiloi. No, if given you Beis Salam, etc. Imkain. So says Isi ben Yehuda, if I'm right, so Mata Amalei Merbekarka Mishkan, what do I do with the pasuk? Shloyavi mitoich kupasai. You don't bring it from a box. Again, you don't take it from outside of the Beis Hamikdash and enter in with it. So that is the second brisa teaching. What do we learn out of a Bekarka HaMishkan? Machlokes Isi ben Yehuda and Isi ben Menachem. So Yibayilahu says the Gemara 5 lines down, Tezayin Amid Aleph, Ein Sham Afar, Ma'u Sheyitein Afar. Asks the Gemara, Lamaisa, if there is no dirt, what do they do? What do they do? Ma'ushayitin afar. Excuse me, I read that wrong. Ma'ushayitin afer. Afar is with an ayin, that means dirt. Afer is with an ayin, that means ash. So we're in the middle of discussing that they sprinkled in some dirt into the vial of the water that ultimately the Sotah is going to drink. Asks the Gemara, can you put in ash instead? So the Gemara explains. There's no shayla according to Beis Shammai Damri. Says Beis Shammai, there's no precedent for your shayla. We never found that afer, that ashes is called afar, so of course it doesn't work. There's only a shayla leave the Beis Hillel. Beis Hillel holds that we have such a precedent. What is the din? Do we say that the pasuk says afar? So what's the reason that I would think even afer? Because the pasuk says bekarka mishkan. So maybe the extra words bekarka mishkan gufa comes to exclude even ashes. Or perhaps hi bekarka mishkan. What do we do with that pasuk? Not to include ash, and you can't use ash. So what do we need? Bekarka Mishkan, Lechlisi ben Yehuda or Lechlisi ben Menachem Hudasi, as we've just seen a moment ago. So ask the Gemara Lemaisa, are you allowed to use ash in the place of dirt? And this will center around whether we have an extra pasuk to include ash, or according to the Shita of Beis Hillel that there is such a precedent, or do we say that extra pasuk is not extra at all, as Isi ben Yehuda and Isi ben Menachem learned out that which they learned from the pasuk? So says the Gemara, Tashema, let's bring her out. Dam Rav Yechon Misham Yishmael, Beishlaisha Mekaima is Halachai Kaves Mikra. Fascinatingly enough, in 3 places, halacha l'Moshe Sinai is oiker, is oikev. It undermines the pasuk itself. HaTorah, number 1, Ba'afar, the Torah says that when you do the kisu yadam, when you cover over the blood of the carbon, you do a ba'afar with dirt. Ve'alacha, and what's halacha l'Moshe Sinai teach us? B'chol davar. You don't have to only use dirt. You can use anything. HaTorah, number 2, bitar. The Torah teaches us that we had a whole masechta discussing this, that when the Nazir is not allowed to cut his hair, it's dafka bitar. But the halacha, what does halacha Moshe Sinai teach us? B'chol davar, you can't cut it with any form. And finally, number 3, HaTorah Amar, sefer. Halacha says b'chol davar, and the halacha Moshe Sinai says no. You can write it on the get on anything. So now proves the Gemara, v'misa lech shayv nami. Hi. If it's true that which we just said, that you're allowed to even use ashes for the mei Sotah, so why don't we include that as well? Says the Gemara, you're right. Tanav Shire. We should include it. We're just left out of the list. My Shire, Dai Shire. So what else was left out? Says the Gemara, Shire Mitzayra. Mitzayra was left out. The time you learned in a brayso of Vayav Yom HaShvi. Apologies for the lack of video. Vayav Yom HaShvi, Galachas Kol B'Sarai. And it was on the 7th day. And he should shave all his hair. Kalal. That is a klal, a general statement of the Torah. Ezra Shev Ezikanai. We're talking about a Mitzayra right now. And the Torah continues. What hair does he cut? His hair on his head and on his beard, and his eyebrows. Parat, that's a specific. And then the pasuk concludes that he cuts off all his hair. Chazar v'klal. That's going back and it's saying another general rule. So how does this work? Klal u'prat u'klal. What happens when the Torah says general? Torah says specific. Torah says general. Iatadon elkeina prat has to be similar to the prat, has to be similar to the specification. And ma prat mefurash makom kinos sar v'nireh. The pasuk, the prat, the pasuk that specifies is explicit. They're referring to what type of hair, an area on which the hair is gathered together. V'nireh, an area in which the hair is seen. Which of course would exclude, for example, arm hair, which is not gathered together and is not visible. My Rabbi. So says the Gemara, okay, great, what does this come to include? Rabbi Siraglayim comes to include here on the head, on the legs, literally. But Rashi over here explains that it's not actually referring to the Raglayim, but rather, if you look down at Rashi is about 6 lines. It's very wide lines. Rashi says, "What seir deraglayim da oisei makom?" It's referring to the pubic hairs. Da oisei makom, and it says lishem alsanakat. It just spoken a nice lashon. My mia, what does it come to include? Mia, it excludes. Excuse me. The beis hashachi udekule kufay. So that's the drasha. So what's the halach l'Moshe Sinai? So this is another case in which Allah Moshe Sinai is being oiker hakra. The halacha is, even though it seems to say only these hairs, only those hairs that are gathered together, hairs that are visible, not all the hair of the body has to be cut off. But Allah Moshe Sinai dictates when it comes to a nazir, megaleach kidalas, he has to be shaved like a gourd. All the hair in his body has to be removed. Titinan, as we learned in the Mishnah, 10 lines from the bottom of Tezayin and Aleph. When they come to the Kohen to shave off the body of the Mitzayra, Ma'avir tar al kol b'sarai. The Kohen puts a tar, razor over the entire body. V'katani seifa, and says the end of this Mishnah. And on the 7th day they shave. So this is another case that the second time that the Messiah is shaved, it's as well shaved in its entirety, even though the Klal U'Pradu Klal would teach otherwise. So what do we see? This is a 4th situation in which Allah Sinai is oiker the pasuk, overrides the pasuk, and this is going to be the shire, Tana the shire. This is the case that was left out. Says the Gemara, nothing doing. Amr Nachbar Yitzchak, I don't understand. Why do you refer to Allah that undermines a pasuk? Hi, keves midrabanan. This whole din, this whole reason that you would potentially not be able to shave the whole body, the whole drush of kinusar v'nira was all din derabanan. So the lach l'moishbi Sinai is not being oikev, is not undermining an explicit pasuk. It's only undermining a din derabanan. Therefore, it's no raya. Rapapa Amar says Rapapa another reason why it's not considered an extra case. Kika chasha Allah oikeves v'keres oikeves mivim oisefes. We're talking about case of lach Sinai undermines and destroys. Here it undermines and it adds on. And the third reason, 2 lines from the bottom, he Rav Ashi Amar Masnita Mani. Who's our Mishnah? Rabbi Yishmaeli, the Darish Klali, Uprati. Rabbi Yishmael doesn't hold of what we just said, Klal Uprati Klal. Rather, he darshans in a different mechanics. He darshans Klal Uprat. As we turn over to Tezayin, Amid Beis explains the Gemara, Kitalas Mani. So when the Mishnah says that the second time we have to shave the entire body of a Nazir, like a dalas, like a gourd, asked the Gemara, Mani, who is that going like? Rabbi Akiva, the Darish, Riboy, Umi, Uti. The Tanya is learned in our Braisa, and this is a machlokes, Rabbi Yishmael, Rabbi Akiva, which we've had and we will continuously have. Riba, that's an inclusion. As the Rosh to shave the head, as the gun of the beard, as Gaboizin of the eyebrows, Miot is a specification, a minimalization. Ves called v'saira yigaleh chazav riba umiyot v'riba hakol. My riba, what does it include? Riba the kulei gu for the entire body. My miyot, what does it exclude? Miyot sarshim sechachaytem, the nose hairs you don't have to shave off. My have Allah. So says the Gemara. Okay, we went back and forth and back, but tachlis, can you use ashes for the water of the Sotah? Tashema brings the Gemara approved to Zayin and Beis. 10 lines down, the Amar Avuna Barashi Amarav Ein Sham Afar, you have no dirt. Maybe Vuvis Yarak. Bring a decayed vegetable, Umekadesh, put it into one of the klisharis, then use it. Velohi says it's not a raya. Vuvis Yarak Ave Afar. Efer Loy Have Afar. Maybe this decayed vegetable that has a din of dirt. But to say that afar, ash is a din of dirt, that's a much bigger chiddush. Says the Gemara, you have no raya. We continue 10 lines down the 2 dots. Kadesh yira alamai. They place this dirt inside the vial. Why? So it's recognizable on the water. 3 things need to be visible. Afar saita, ifar para, v'raik yavama. The dirt of the Sotah we're talking about over here, when you put it into the water, the Efer, the ashes of the Parah Aduma, and the spit that the Yavama has to spit, has all be visible. The blood of the bird of the Mitzayra, the carbon, has as well be visible. My time, Rabbi Shmuel. Says Gemara, where does Rabbi Shmuel get this thing that the dam of the tzibur, of the bird of the carbon Mitzayra, has to be visible? The Chsiv, as the pasuk says, another pasuk says, Bedam yachol bedam v'loy b'mayim, tam v'loy mar b'mayim. Imayim yachol b'mayim v'loy bedam, specifically water. Tam v'loy mar bedam. So okay, how do you reconcile all this? Says the Gemara, maybe mayim shedam tzibur nikar b'hem. And this is the makar that you're not just putting water in for no reason. The water has to be visible. The dam, that you're putting into the water, the dam has to be visible within the water. V'kama revius, says the Gemara, v'kama, and how much water? Revius. That is the Gemara's answer. But says the Gemara, v'rabbanan. What about the Rabbanan who argue in Rabbi Yishmael? They hold that the dam of the Mitzayra does not have to be nikar. So what do they do with the pasuk? It's for itself. The pasuk teaches this is what the pasuk teaches us. It will bedam ubemayim. You have to dip this mixture into both blood and water. So how does the Yishmael answer? The game of ping pong continues. Rabbi Yishmael, Im Kein Lich L'Rachmana, V'Taval Bahem, B'Damu B'Mayim Lamali, L'Nikar, teaches that as you recognize, well, Rabbanan, Iksiv Rachmana V'Taval B'Hem, Hava Min Ahai L'Chudei V'Ahai L'Chudei. No, you cannot have just said, I would have thought that by themselves. So cause Rachmana V'Damu B'Mayim L'Arvin to mix them, but not necessarily says Rabbi Yishmael, sticking to his guns. Does they have to be recognizable? Rabbi Yishmael, Arva, and Krach Riniksif. Says more 1 second. Rabbi Yishmael, you're learning out the fact you have to mix it for this pasuk. We have another pasuk. So that's where we learn as all we mix. You would think, says the Rabbanan, that the shechita has to be over a vessel of water, and then and then pinch the arteries after the shechita to make sure the blood does not come out. Then accept it in a different vessel. So Kamash Malan, the extra pasuk teaches that no, indeed, the blood should be mixed into the water for the carbon. We conclude today's shir with one last shayla. What is the status if this bird, this carbon, is so big that the blood overwhelms, there's too much blood in the water? Or what is the status if the blood is so small and it's nichas v'nei, I mean the water completely dissolves it? Ma'u, what is the halacha in both cases? So Amar Lei Rav Zira responds, Lava minu lacha, did I not tell you, lo tevik nafshecha lebar me'elchasa? Says Rav Zera, did I not tell you that don't go out of halacha? B'tzibur durar, shiaru rabbanan. We're talking about a tzibur durar, which the Chazal measure that ein l'cha gedosh v'nechas hamayim, ein l'cha ketana shenichas v'nei hamayim. So says Rav Yirmiyah to Rav Zera, don't be all held up. Lamaisa, actually the opposite. Rav Zera said back to Rav Yirmiyah, of course Chazal knew what they were talking about. Therefore he should not ask such a question. So Tanu Rabbanan, the truth is, this Tanu Rabbanan is going to take us back into the world of Sotah, and tomorrow's daf is a short one, so B'siyat Shmaya, we'll pick it up from here. Amir Tzasha.